I think we all agree about the NGOs being thrown out. I mean, they're apparently thrown out because of lack of organisation and not on their part, but by the authorities who were inundated by prime ministers and presidents and their amazingly large retinues who all turned up unannounced.
Turned up unannounced. Oh, yeah. So they didn't really, actually sort of, accidentally miscalculate another 10,000 people that had to get in, so, we're going to have to accidentally throw all these other people out. Just at the point where it gets difficult.
It is a little fishy. Can I just ask you, Tony, one of the questions of the moment to Tony Juniper, ex-Friends of the Earth, now standing as MP, is a confidential initial draft from the Secretariat, which is being passed round by email. It's been leaked by someone, which has added up all the pledges by industrialized countries and some promises by developing countries. And essentially, it says, add them all together, do the maths, and what we've got is that we're heading for a temperature rise of around 3 degrees centigrade and 550 parts per million instead of 350 carbon, which is both of them way above the targets that by consensus we're supposed to be heading for. So are you surprised?
No, not at all surprised. It's a transparent situation in terms of looking at what these countries have come with in the different blocks and the different nations in putting out their numbers. It doesn't add up to coming in below 2 degrees. It's at least 3 degrees, I would say. And the IPCC was very clear on this. Need a 25 to 40% cut by 2020 to stand a reasonable chance of coming in below 2 degrees. That's a cut from the developed countries, the Annex 1 parties. So they're not really saying that. The one bloc that is saying it is the EU, but they're saying 20 rather than 30, and they will go to 30 if others step up to the mark. So even they're not saying that they will, commit to a 2-degree temperature emissions reductions pathway. It's disastrous, that this huge chasm still remains between the science and the politics. And, for people listening to this, the difference between 2 and 3 degrees may not sound much, but this is the difference between, meters of sea level rise, the potential loss of the Amazon rainforest, a mass extinction of animals and plants, a rewriting of the world's political map in terms of people moving in order to cope with droughts and loss of livelihoods and so on. So this is a really major difference between what's needed and what we're likely to get. Just to give one impression of 3 degrees, the last time the world was 3 degrees warmer than now was in the Pliocene, in about 3 million years ago. And at that point there were trees growing on Greenland and global sea levels were about 10 meters higher than now. And so this is not a small thing that is being kind of lost in this discussion. It's major. And countries should be frankly ashamed of themselves because they can see the danger, and I think the first duty of an elected government is to look after the interests of its citizens, not only next week but also into a reasonable period into the future. And by signing up to what they know is a 3-degree scenario, that is a complete abdication of their responsibilities.
When you said when you referred to an impression of 3 degrees, I thought you were going to do an impression of the 3 degrees. But can I ask you both? Maybe Thom Yorke, do you think people are ready, even just anecdotally, friends, people you come into contact with, are ready to make changes in their lifestyle, that they appreciate what this is going to mean for all of us?
I think it's about fairness. If everybody feels that it's been done in a way that everybody has a duty to do it. It's like George Monbiot wrote about it in his book, like a rationing system. And that wasn't perfect, obviously, but it's that sort of concept. And I think, if we get on with it now, if we put the everything in place now, it will be manageable. If we leave it another, even 5 years, it won't. If we put a structure in place where it could occur, then people will cope with it.
You agree with that, Tony? Well, you were leading a campaign organisation, so you must have some knowledge about people's views about, okay, they think the cause is good, but are they going to change? Are they ready for that? Do you think people really understand the implications of this?
I think there's quite a lot of things going on in terms of the collective consciousness, and I think it's quite difficult just to paint a very straightforward picture of it, but I just mention a couple of things that I think are happening. I think, as the implications of this are becoming more obvious, I think there's a tendency for people to walk away from it. And so you see some of these polls lately which are talking about, declining confidence in the fact that humans are responsible for this. I don't think that's got anything to do with the science, really. I think it's got much more to do with this dissonance thing which humans experience when on the one hand you're told something that has big implications, and on the other your behaviour is not consistent with dealing with it. And the best way of dealing with that kind of discomfort is to deny there's a problem. And so I think, there's a bit of that creeping in as people hear about sea level rise and food shortages and so on.
But also, if you see, when we started the Friends of the Earth campaign, the first thing that happened was that people say, yeah, but what can I do, da da da, and there's a lot of finger pointing. Oh well, you fly here and you do this here and da da da, and it also, if everything remains on that level where it doesn't, if it isn't a collective decision, then you get the dissonance he's talking about. But if it's a law, if it's a nation, a national, an international decision, it's a different thing. And that's when you get the shift back. You see, basically what's happened is like you still got the people's desire. This, we all have it that like we're going to wake up tomorrow morning from this really long, vivid dream, and it's just going to be, it's fine, it was just a dream, da da, and it's not going to happen. Okay. So the sooner that someone wakes you up, slaps you around and says, this isn't going to happen, now let's get on with it, the better. And that's it.
I think the other bit of this as well, in this kind of space of getting public support for change, is making a positive picture of what the future could look like. And I think a lot of it is communicated as more tax, less stuff, not going on holiday, when in fact it's not about that at all. And I think, this is one of the things I think the Green Party needs to do, is to paint a very positive picture of how we can live differently. Not live worse, but live better, and a lower carbon world that comes with it.
Okay, we all say yes to that. Well, and thank you very much, Tony Juniper, global environmental superstar, and Thom Yorke, global superstar, and both some bloke. But great. You're going to be on the Stupid Show after this. You're going to be, so you can stay tuned, and you get another bout with the superstar. So thank you very, very much for coming in.